A journey of quiet strength. I was alone. Sitting in my car outside Wilson Funeral Home, dressed in black, I trembled in the driver's seat. Through the windshield, the funeral home's imposing doors looked like a gateway to another world. My phone buzzed in my hands. Mom flashed on the screen. I'd been waiting for a response to the message I'd sent 3 hours ago, and I pressed the call button with a mixture of hope and dread. "Lauren?" My mother's voice filled the car, bright as always, as if it were just another Sunday afternoon. "Mom, I'm here." My voice was hoarse. "About the funeral." "Oh, that." There was a slight hesitation in her voice. In that brief pause, my heart turned to ice. "We can't make it today. We already promised to help Megan with her housewarming party." Time seemed to stop. My brain refused to process my mother's words. "Housewarming party," I repeated. Not a question, but a disbelieving whisper. "It's been planned for weeks." My mother's voice became defensive. "You know how important this house is to Megan." My daughter was dead. The fact tore through my throat like a blade. "Chloe passed away." The words trembled out. My mother's voice carried the mild confusion of someone asked to change plans. "That's very unfortunate. But Chloe wouldn't want us to disappoint Megan. You know how sensitive she is." A memory surfaced. Drawing pictures for the nurses. A week ago, Chloe in her hospital bed, gripping colored pencils in her small hands. "Miss Abby likes purple unicorns," she'd said seriously, tongue caught between her teeth in concentration. That same day, I'd called my mother from the hallway with trembling fingers, trying to share the hopeful words I'd heard from the doctor. Back then, I thought I could see a glimmer of hope. But now I realized what my family truly valued was something else entirely. "That's nice, honey," my mother had said. I could hear glasses clanking in the background. "I'm helping Megan pick out curtains for her new house. Don't you think the blue ones would make the living room too dark?" I'd mumbled something vague and returned to Chloe, to what truly mattered. And then came that night at 2 a.m., the beeping machines, nurses rushing in with sudden urgency, the terrible certainty in the doctor's eyes. At 2:20 a.m., I held my daughter's small hand as she quietly slipped away. The machines fell silent, leaving only empty stillness where Chloe's laughter should have been. "I don't understand," I said into the phone. "This is your granddaughter's funeral." "Lauren, you're being dramatic," my mother sighed. "Chloe was sick for so long. You've had time to prepare." A sudden rage stole my breath. I hung up without another word and immediately dialed Megan's number. "Hello?" My sister's voice sounded irritated, as if I'd interrupted something important. "Mom said you're having a housewarming party on the day of Chloe's funeral." My voice was hoarse from crying, hollow with disbelief. "The date was set weeks ago." Megan's voice was flat. "Besides, she's already dead, right? It doesn't matter to her when she gets buried. I'm alive, and I want to celebrate my new house." The phone nearly slipped from my numb fingers. I hung up without speaking. What words could possibly answer such cruelty? Sitting in my car, I stared at the funeral home entrance with its dignified columns and dark wood. Inside, my daughter's body was being prepared for her final rest, while her family prepared for a party. What kind of family? I whispered to the empty car. Chooses a housewarming party over their own flesh and blood's funeral? The question hung unanswered in the air. But I could feel the grief on my face slowly transforming into determination. My trembling hands grew still. I reached for my phone again, but this time I dialed a different number. "Police department?" "I'd like to report unauthorized use of my property." After leaving the funeral home, I drove directly to David's law office, still carrying the shock from that morning service. The weight of my funeral clothes pressed heavily on my shoulders as I sat across from David, who had been my grandmother's lawyer for 30 years. His office smelled of old books and coffee, a familiar comfort in a world that had suddenly lost all meaning. My black dress still carried the scent of lilies from Chloe's service. "I'm sorry to bring you here on a day like this, Lauren," David said, adjusting his glasses as he shuffled through a manila folder. But given the urgency in your phone call, I immediately pulled your grandmother's documents. I've worked with your grandmother for 30 years. I know what she would think of this situation. I can't overlook this kind of fraud." I nodded, my throat too raw for words. 3 hours ago, I had watched my daughter's casket being lowered into the ground, alone. "Here it is." David slid a document across his desk. "The deed to your grandmother's house is still in your name. The transfer to your sister was never completed." The words hit me like a physical blow. That can't be right. I gave Megan the keys last year. Giving keys isn't the same as legal transfer. David tapped the document. "According to my records, after your grandmother passed, your family proceeded as if it were a temporary arrangement. The formal transfer paperwork was postponed until things settled down. Then 5 months ago, when Chloe was diagnosed, you responded that you needed time. Since then, all legal proceedings have been completely halted." A memory surfaced. Mom and my stepfather Ted sitting at my kitchen table 3 weeks after grandmother's funeral. Ted was my mother's second husband, who had joined the family 5 years ago. Though not Megan's biological father, he aligned himself with my mother's opinions to secure his position within the family. I would later learn that he was financially dependent on my mother as well. Their voices had been urgent, insistent. "Megan needs a fresh start after that messy breakup," Mom had said, stirring her tea with quick, nervous movements. "You know how much she loves that house. It should stay in the family. You already have a place to live," Ted had added in his reasonable, practiced tone. "Megan has nothing. This is for the family." I had been numb with grief, still finding grandmother's knitting needles in odd places around her house, still smelling her perfume on the couch cushions. "Fine," the word had tumbled from my lips, desperate to end the conversation. "She can have it. The paperwork can wait until things settle down." The next day, I'd handed over the keys with a sense of relief that one burden had been lifted from my shoulders. David's voice brought me back to the present. "Lauren, did you realize they were pressuring you during your daughter's illness?" His words cut through the fog in my brain. "What do you mean?" "The last communication about transferring the deed came 5 months ago, when Chloe was diagnosed," he said, removing his glasses to polish them with a handkerchief. "You responded that you needed time. 5 months ago, when the doctor's gentle voice said leukemia, my world had collapsed. I completely forgot about the house," I whispered. David placed a folder in front of me. "You also asked me to gather your financial records." I opened it with trembling hands. Bank statements, 5 years' worth, neatly organized. The numbers blurred, then sharpened with terrible clarity. A pattern of monthly $2,000 transfers to my mother's account, continuing even through Chloe's illness. "When did this start?" I whispered. "According to the records, 5 years ago. It coincides with when Ted lost his job." David showed me another document. "Your mother explained it at the time as wanting to be involved as Chloe's grandmother and providing temporary support, but it continued." God. I flipped through statement after statement, months passing in a shuffle of paper. There was the payment sent the night I worked until 3 a.m. editing manuscripts from a chair pulled alongside Chloe's hospital bed. There was the payment sent the week I maxed out my credit cards to cover medication copays. Another document caught my eye. A car loan in my mother's name, dated 1 month after Chloe's diagnosis. A $42,000 Mercedes. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Need extra this month. Car insurance went up. How's Chloe doing?" My stomach twisted as I opened Instagram. A post from 2 hours ago, during Chloe's funeral, appeared at the top of my feed. My mother and Megan raising champagne glasses high in grandmother's kitchen. Grandmother's antique mirror reflected their smiling faces. New beginnings. Blessed new house. I stared at their faces, at the timestamp. This wasn't thoughtlessness or poor timing. This was deliberate. A knock at the office door interrupted us, and David's receptionist poked her head in. "Your ex-husband is here. Says he's been looking for you." Derek entered the room, his eyes red-rimmed, his suit wrinkled from sitting through the service. Unlike my family, he had come. Though we were divorced, our love for Chloe had continued to bind us. And now, our shared grief and his sense of responsibility for leaving me alone supported him. Lauren, his voice broke on my name. I went to your house, but you weren't there. I was worried. Did you know? I held up my phone, showing him the Instagram post. Did you know they didn't come because of a party? Derek's face hardened as he looked at the screen. Jesus Christ. This was today? A notification popped up on my screen. An email from my tenant at the small rental property I'd inherited from my father, my only source of steady income during Chloe's illness. Someone claiming to be your mother called saying you're mentally unstable after your daughter's death, and that rent payments should be sent to her until further notice. Wanted to check with you directly. How did she get the landlord's contact information? Derek frowned. A memory surfaced in my mind. When Chloe got sick, I listed my mother as an emergency contact in case anything happened. At work, too. She said she wanted to provide support. The room spun, then settled with crystal clarity. They didn't just abandon me at the worst moment of my life, I said, rising to my feet. They tried to profit from it. David handed me the house keys and deed from his desk drawer. These are legally yours. What do you want to do? I closed my fingers around the cold metal keys. In the distance, I could hear sirens growing louder. How far would someone go when betrayed by family at their most vulnerable moment? Forgive the unforgivable, or draw a line that could never be crossed? The answer came with the wail of approaching police cars. My phone buzzed for the 5th time that day. I let it vibrate against the kitchen counter, watching it dance closer to the edge with each notification. Another flying monkey sent to do my mother's bidding. Lauren, honey, we're all worried about you. Aunt Carol's voice filled my voicemail. Your mother says you're not thinking clearly. Grief can make us do things we regret. Just let this house thing go. I deleted the message without responding. The phone chimed with a text. This time it was from Megan. Some people are just toxic. Cutting them out is self-care. Blessed boundaries. New chapter. Below her post was a photo of her lounging in what had been my grandmother's sunroom. I set the phone face down. There was another certified letter from her lawyer on my counter, still unopened. Half the neighborhood thought I was having a mental breakdown. The other half knew exactly what had happened. Mrs. Rivera had crossed the street yesterday when she saw my mother approaching, then knocked on my door an hour later with a casserole and quiet solidarity in her eyes. I saw what they did, she'd said simply. My husband's family didn't come to our son's funeral either. Chloe's grave was still fresh, the grass not yet grown over the disturbed earth. I knelt beside the small headstone, running my fingers over her name. I placed a small bunch of daisies against the cold stone. I always taught you to be kind, sweetheart, I whispered. But I never taught you to stand up for yourself. I won't make that mistake anymore. The words surprised me with their clarity. For weeks, I'd felt nothing but hollow ache where my heart should be. But today, something new stirred beneath the grief. Something with edges. What I'm hearing, Dr. Matthews said, leaning forward slightly in her chair, is remarkable clarity about what happened and what needs to happen next. I blinked, surprised by her assessment. Is that unusual? In my experience, yes. Most people who've suffered both the loss of a child and family betrayal struggle to separate their emotions from their actions. She made a brief note on her pad. Your anger is justified, Lauren. That night, I finally tackled Chloe's room. Her rock collection lined the windowsill, each one labeled in her careful handwriting. I slept through the night without waking, without crying. I woke at dawn with something steady in my chest. Not peace, it was too solid for that. Resolve. My mother's face when she opened her front door was a study in manufactured concern. Lauren, oh honey, I've been so worried. She reached for me, arms open for an embrace. I didn't step into the hug. Cut the act, Mom. Her mug froze halfway to her lips. Excuse me? For 5 years, using Ted's unemployment as an excuse, you've been sending yourself $2,000 every month. Even while undermining me during Chloe's illness, my voice was steady, surprising me. We're family, she said as if this explained everything. You chose a housewarming party over Chloe's funeral. Her face hardened, the sympathetic mask slipping. You're still going on about that, Lauren? Megan had people coming from out of state. She switched tactics, tears swelling up. After all I've done for you. Yes, I said quietly. After all you've done. Derek slid a folder across the table at the lawyer's office. The house is still in your name. Your grandmother's will is clear. And the financial records. He nodded. Bank statements showing regular payments to your mother over the last 5 years. Emails proving they knew about the funeral. His jaw tightened. Lauren, they were taking your money while you were trying to save our daughter's life. My phone buzzed. A meal train group letting me know dinner would be delivered. Next, my landlord called. That woman, your mother, called claiming you were unstable and might damage the property. I told her to take a hike. Then my boss followed up. Take all the time you need, Lauren. Your job will be here. A police cruiser pulled up behind my car in front of what had once been my grandmother's house. Megan's face when she opened the door was first shocked, then furious. What is this? Miss Parker, the officer said, we're here to explain the legal situation regarding this property. For the next 10 minutes, the officers explained that she had been living in the property without legal right, that I had documentation proving my ownership. 48 hours, the older officer said. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. Megan's tantrum escalated as neighbors peeked from behind curtains. I stood silent, neither gloating nor retreating. The older officer paused beside me. My sister lost a child too. Take all the time you need, ma'am. 2 days later, I sat alone in my grandmother's empty living room. The house felt hollow. Megan's presence had been scrubbed away, but nothing had yet replaced it. I ran my hand along the bookshelf and felt something tucked behind the classics my grandmother loved. I pulled it out, a folded piece of construction paper from months ago. I unfolded it with trembling fingers. A stick figure with wild hair stood tall, arms outstretched, a red cape flowing behind. Mommy was scrawled across the top in Chloe's handwriting. A superhero. Tears came again, but different this time. Not the drowning waves of grief, but something cleaner, sharper. I won't just survive this, Chloe, I whispered, pressing the drawing to my chest. I'll show you what real strength looks like. The security company van pulled away from the curb. 4 cameras now watched over the property, one at each corner. The technician's words echoed in my head. The cameras upload to cloud storage. Nothing can be deleted. At the bank, I canceled the automatic payments to my mother's account. 5 years of monthly support ended with a signature. Derek emailed me the last piece of evidence. Screenshots of our group chat the day I announced her passing. Their read receipts. Timestamps showing they'd seen it, known about the funeral, and chosen the party anyway. This should be enough, he wrote. They can't deny they knew. It was nearly midnight when my phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor across the street. You need to come quickly. Something's happening at the house. I opened the security app on my phone. The night vision camera showed Megan's car parked halfway up the driveway, headlights off. She was moving toward the back door, something in her hand catching the moonlight. The sound of breaking glass came through the speaker, a window shattering. On the screen, I could see her carrying a box of grandmother's old silverware. My hand didn't shake as I dialed 911. My voice didn't waver as I explained the situation. And when I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, my face showed only determination. They had already taken enough from me. They wouldn't take anything more. Standing on the sidewalk beside the patrol car, watching 2 police officers approach my grandmother's house, security footage played on my phone screen with crisp, undeniable clarity. Megan's red Toyota was parked crooked in the driveway, half on the grass. "Ma'am," Officer Williams gestured toward the house. "You said this is your property?" I nodded, handing him the property deed. "Yes, it belonged to my grandmother. I'm the legal owner." The sound of shattering glass cut through the night air, followed by muffled cursing. "Stay here," Officer Williams said, his hand moving to rest on his holster. I remained by the patrol car, my body tense, but my mind remarkably clear. The security camera app on my phone continued recording, capturing every moment. The front door flew open. Megan stumbled out, a baseball bat dangling from her right hand. When she spotted me, her face contorted from surprise to rage. "You called the cops on your own sister?" She lunged forward, but Officer Williams blocked her path. "Ma'am, drop the bat now." She hesitated, then let it clatter to the porch. "This is ridiculous. This is my house." "Actually," I stepped forward, my voice steady. "It's not. And the security cameras I installed last week show you breaking the front windows with that bat." Megan's mouth dropped open. Her eyes darted to the small camera mounted under the eaves. Officer Williams turned to me. "Is anything missing?" I showed him my phone screen. I can see her carrying grandmother's silverware set in real time. And she's also taking mail from the front mailbox. The officer's partner returned from inside the house. There's a silverware set and porcelain collection on the dining table. Also a stack of utility bills addressed to her. "She was trying to create proof of residency," I said quietly. "Evidence that she was a legitimate resident." Megan's face flushed red. "These are mine. Grandma said she'd give them to me." "I want to press charges," I told Officer Williams, "for vandalism and breaking and entering." "This is now a criminal matter, ma'am," he informed Megan as his partner read her rights. The next morning, Mom appeared at my apartment with red-rimmed eyes, clutching her handbag against her chest like armor. I didn't invite her in. "Lauren, honey, this has gone far enough." Her voice wavered. "Families need to stick together. I forgave when you missed Chloe's school plays. I drew the line at missing her funeral for a housewarming party." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Chloe wouldn't want this division in the family. She was such a sweet girl. "Don't." My voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Don't use my daughter's name to manipulate me." Something shifted in her expression, the motherly mask slipping to reveal the calculation beneath. Her eyes narrowed. "You've always been difficult, so sensitive." Her voice hardened. "Megan could lose her job over this. Is that what you want?" What I wanted was for my mother to hold my hand while my daughter took her last breath. I leaned against the doorframe. What people want and what they get are often different things. By afternoon, Megan's edited video was circulating on Facebook. She'd carefully cut together security footage from my cameras, carefully omitting the parts showing her swinging the bat. Comments piled up beneath it, mostly family members expressing outrage at my cruelty to my homeless sister. I didn't respond, didn't defend, didn't explain. Derek called me after seeing it. "Your cousin Mark asked if I'd seen what Lauren did." I set him straight about what really happened at the funeral. "You didn't have to do that. Someone should tell the truth." He paused. "Anyone who was at Chloe's funeral knows about the empty seats in the front row. Seats reserved for family who never came." By evening, 3 mothers from Chloe's school had commented with eyewitness accounts of the empty seats. Chloe's oncology nurse shared how she sat with me during those final hours when no one else came. The truth emerged without my intervention, like water finding its way downhill. Thursday, my lawyer called. "The cease and desist letters have been delivered. Both your mother and sister are legally prohibited from posting about you on social media." "Thank you. There's something else." The Community Foundation called. They want to establish a children's cancer research fund in Chloe's name. They've already raised $12,000. My throat tightened. I didn't know. Apparently Derek helped organize it. She paused. "Oh, and I've been getting calls from several people offering character references for you. Your former neighbors, Chloe's teachers, even a church group that used to include your mother." I blinked in surprise. Mom's church friends? They saw the truth, Lauren. They are not supporting her version anymore. In fact, the church pastor contacted me. Your mother has been removed from the church event planning committee. Other members protested when they learned she'd missed her granddaughter's funeral. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor. You should check social media. Megan's employer responded. I found a statement from the county health department. We are aware of the situation involving one of our employees. Miss Bennett has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. My phone rang almost immediately. Mom's number. Lauren, she sobbed when I answered. The church group is asking questions. Your father's sister saw Megan's video and called me. Our family reputation. Even the pastor called offering to mediate, but he knows you'll never agree. Mom, I interrupted quietly. This isn't about reputation. Megan's been suspended. This is your fault. The old Lauren would have apologized. Would have found a way to absorb the blame. No, I said simply. This is about choices. After I hung up, 3 text notifications appeared from relatives who had previously condemned me. Uncle Jim simply read, I heard what really happened. I'm sorry. Are you sure about this? My lawyer slid the documents across her desk. Once it's done, there's no going back. I picked up the pen, studying the bold type at the top of the page. Restraining order application. Chloe's voice echoed in my memory. Mommy, why do you always let Aunt Megan be mean to you? I'd never had a good answer for her then. I did now. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt after they burn. I signed my name with steady hands. As I finished the signature, my stepfather's message chimed on my phone. We need to work something out, Lauren. This has gone too far. Too far. That's what they called consequences. Not once had anyone mentioned Chloe's funeral. The empty chairs. The absence when I needed them most. Their concern was only for themselves. I placed the signed restraining order in my lawyer's hands. For the first time since Chloe died, I felt the weight on my chest lighten just a little. It was never about the house. I parked my car at the curb, watching as Uncle Todd's minivan pulled up behind me. Aunt Melissa and Cousin Jen climbed out, their faces arranged in identical masks of concern. My phone buzzed. Mom again. The 5th call in 30 minutes. The front door opened before I reached it. My mother stood there, tears already tracking down her makeup. Lauren, honey, we've all been so worried about you. I stepped back, allowing them inside without a word. They filed past me, Mom, Todd, Aunt Melissa, Uncle Dave, Cousin Jen, and Uncle Pete. No Megan, of course. Let's sit in the living room, I said, my voice steadier than it had any right to be. The room felt smaller with all of them in it. They took the couch, the armchairs, perching like vultures waiting for something to die. Lauren, Todd began, clearing his throat. Since you discontinued your support, we've had some financial difficulties. Ted lost his job recently too, and the situation. I didn't answer. Just waited. We never wanted to bring this up during such a difficult time, Jen said, her voice soft as poison. But we're concerned about your mental state. Grief can do terrible things to a person's judgment. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. First, I lost my granddaughter. Now I feel like I'm losing you too. And there's the issue of your rental property, Todd added. Several neighbors have mentioned concerns. Said you seemed unstable. Are you finished? I asked. They exchanged glances. No one spoke. Good. I stood, moving to the center of the room. I didn't invite you here today for reconciliation. I found the edge of the folder on the side table and slid it onto my lap. I opened the folder and removed a stack of papers. Lauren, we're just trying to, Mom started. 3 months ago, I interrupted her. When I told you Chloe was dying, Megan sent me this text. I held up my phone and read. I know it's hard, but some of us still have lives to live. My housewarming is important too. The room went quiet. And here, I continued, tapping the screen. is your voicemail from the morning of Chloe's funeral." I pressed play. Mom's voice filled the room. "We promised to help Megan with her party. She's been planning it for months. I'm sure Chloe would understand." Aunt Melissa shifted uncomfortably. Uncle Dave stared at his hands. I set down the phone and pulled out a stack of papers. "These are bank statements showing the $2,000 I sent you every month for the past 5 years, including the 3 months Chloe was in hospice." I let the papers fall on the coffee table. "And here are my medical bills from the same period." Now Todd wouldn't meet my eyes. "Here's the security footage from 2 weeks ago showing Megan breaking my windows." I placed a USB drive beside the papers. "The police have it too." I turned to face my mother directly. "And here's what you didn't think I had." I pressed play on another recording. Mom's voice. "Lauren's always been too soft. Once Chloe's gone, we'll contest Dorothy's will. The house should have gone to Megan anyway." My mother's face drained of color. "I have everything, Mom. Every manipulation, every lie, the party photos posted during my daughter's funeral, the calls to my landlord, all of it." I walked to the side table and returned with a stack of envelopes. "This is a restraining order for each of you." I handed them out one by one. "This is a lawsuit for property damage for Megan. And this," I placed the final document on the table, "is the deed to grandmother's house, which I donated to the Children's Cancer Foundation yesterday." Uncle Pete stood up. "You can't do that." "I already have. The papers were signed yesterday." Mom rose, face twisted. "You'll regret this when you're all alone." The laugh that escaped me held no humor. "I was already alone when my daughter died. You made sure of that." I crossed to the front door and opened it. Firmly. Not slammed, just closed. "Our family died the day you chose a party over my daughter's funeral." They filed out in shocked silence. No one spoke. No one looked back. When the last one crossed the threshold, I closed the door firmly. Not slammed, just closed. I leaned against it, letting out a breath that felt like I'd been holding it for years. The house was quiet, empty, but somehow fuller than it had been in months. I crossed to the window and watched them leave in a parade of cars, faces stiff with shock, the manipulators exposed, the mighty fallen. A week later, I was watering the potted geraniums on my porch when the mail carrier walked up my driveway. "Package for Miss Bennett." He handed me a thick envelope. I recognized the return address immediately. Megan's lawyer. The weight of it should feel ominous. Instead, as I slid my finger under the flap, I felt nothing but calm. Sometimes the greatest peace comes not from forgiveness, but from finally walking away. At the law office, I sat across from David with the foundation donation papers spread on the desk. "Are you really sure about this?" he asked gently. "This decision can't be undone." I remembered Chloe's words. In the hospital, she had said in her small voice, "Mommy, if I die, can I make someone happy?" At the time, I didn't want her thinking about such things and changed the subject. But now, those words resonated in my heart. "Chloe always wanted to make people happy," I said quietly. "Rather than watching my family fight so uglily over the house, it's much more meaningful to help someone in her name." "Your family can never contact you again," David confirmed. "And they have no legal rights to this property whatsoever." "That's for the best." I signed the papers. This isn't revenge. This is liberation. Butter yellow paint caught the morning light on the freshly finished walls of my new home's hallway. Chloe's artwork, framed in simple wood, created a gallery down the corridor. The heaviness in my chest had transformed over this past year. Not gone, but different. A companion rather than a crushing weight. "Lauren, it's Derek." I cradled the phone against my shoulder while watering the potted marigolds. "I've been thinking about that support group idea. I've already drafted the mission statement." "Of course you have." His laugh held no mockery, just warmth. "The community center offered their space for free on Tuesday evenings." I glanced at my laptop where the words "finding strength after loss when family fails you" glowed on the screen. Honestly, it's writing itself. The cemetery gates stood open, the air crisp with early autumn. Unlike my first visits, when each step felt like wading through concrete, my stride now carried purpose. The polished stone appeared before me. Chloe's name caught the sunlight. I knelt on the grass, placing her drawing against the headstone. The crayon-bright superhero figure, me in Chloe's imagination, sported a cape and a determined smile. You made me stronger than I ever knew I could be. Tears came, but they didn't drown me anymore. Back home, I changed for my therapy group, 6 parents who understood the impossible grief of outliving their children. No platitudes, no pressure to move on, just honest navigation through impossible terrain. Messages arrived from 3 different friends, real ones who had appeared after the storm, who respected my boundaries and offered support without conditions. The promotion at the medical journal came unexpectedly. Your editing has become more precise, my boss said. Deeper somehow. Later, my backyard filled with quiet laughter. Derek and his new wife arranged sunflowers around Chloe's memorial stone. My therapy group friends arrived bearing dishes that steamed in the cool evening air. To the family we choose, Carol announced, raising her glass as twilight settled. Not the family we're born to. At the children's hospital, I arranged art supplies while children in various stages of treatment gathered around the activity table. A woman hovered in the doorway, her eyes holding the shell-shocked look I recognized. First diagnosis? I asked quietly. She nodded, tears threatening. Leukemia. 3 days ago. You don't have to answer every call or accept every casserole. I met her eyes directly. Protect your space. Some people will make this about them. Her shoulders dropped slightly. You made me feel less alone today, she whispered before leaving. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday. My mother's handwriting on the return address. I opened it calmly, scanning paragraphs about her regret, her pain, her need for reconciliation. But I could see the true motives between the lines. Isolation from the church community, increased financial need due to Megan's suspension, fear of neighbors' judgment. This wasn't true regret, but a practical reconciliation request. I filed it away without response and returned to my garden. Kneeling in the soil, I planted a row of bright zinnias, Chloe's favorites. Their orange and pink faces would turn toward the sun just as she always did. On the patio table, a stack of fresh manuscript pages caught the breeze. Building Boundaries, Protecting Your Peace, read the title. Miss Lauren? A small voice startled me. Lily, the 8-year-old from next door, stood at the garden gate. What's this stone for? That's for my daughter Chloe. She loved butterflies. Did she die? Lily asked with the direct simplicity of children. Yes. The word came easily now. She used to make up songs about caterpillars swinging. Lily touched the stone gently. I bet she was nice. The nicest, I answered, and realized I was smiling at the memory, not crying. My phone rang. The Children's Hospital coordinator's name flashed on the screen. Lauren, would you consider expanding your art program to our other locations? The families keep asking when you're coming back. As sunset painted the sky, I watered the memorial garden one last time. The photo of Chloe rested nearby, her smile untouched by time. You are right, sweetheart, I whispered to her image. It is making people happy.